welcome back. Another edition of Social Media Electric Avenue YouTube channel. Um, Welcome to this week's installment for January 28th, 2022. I'll be running through some of this week's new releases that we've gotten in store as far as vinyl and CDs. And I have a couple of thoughts I'd like to give on some recent news stories towards the end, which I don't usually comment on, but I can't keep quiet. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Okay, so this week, sort of a transitional week. We're getting towards the Valentine's Day era. So late January, it's cold. Record labels don't like to release a ton of big stuff in the winter because it tends to run the risk of having problems with distribution, with weather and things like that. But they still want to sell things, and there's a lot of people in stores when they can get out because they want to have stuff to play at home during the times when they're not out able to enjoy the weather the way they do in the summer. So at least up here in the north. So all right, so the first thing today, there is a new Grateful Dead vinyl box set. This is Live 1969 at the Fillmore West from, well, I think it's March 1st, yep. Rhino did this box. They just actually had that box right there that I'm pointing at that came out in the fall. That was live in St. Louis, Fox Theater. This is Fillmore West, 1969, the penultimate performance from the 4-night run, originally recorded for the Live Dead. This is a limited edition of 9,000, and I believe it's an indie store exclusive, actually, too. So if you're interested, 69 is fairly early, but you know, it might still be of interest to people, especially Deadheads. And it also says it's the first time. This is the first time on vinyl as a whole thing. Now on vinyl for the first time. Yep. So the complete thing, anyway. The other thing that's sort of interesting this week, Jethro Tull's first album in 21 years, The Zealot Gene. Sorry. This is on red vinyl, this version. It's not cheap. We're talking like $50 price point. So 2 records. Yeah, I think their last record was like a Christmas album. So it's really been a long time. People are saying it sort of sounds more like early sort of traditional Jethro Tull. So, you know, if that's your thing, go pick it up while you can. All right, so you all know I've been sort of like excited sort of about this series that she's been doing, and this was the final one that she recorded last year, finally out on vinyl and CD. Lucinda Williams, this is her Rolling Stones tribute. Kind of looks like Beggar's Banquet, the American cover. This is volume 6 in the Jukebox series. You see the sort of jukeboxy looking back cover. She does a lot of, unlike the Dylan one, which I thought she went really deep in his catalog, this has some moments like that too, but it also has a lot of hits. She does Paint It Black, Get Off My Cloud, Can't Get No Satisfaction, Sympathy for the Devil, You Can't Always Get What You Want, and then there's a bunch of other stuff like Moonlight Mile, Sway. So if you've been keeping up with her series, it's been really good, and a lot of that stuff, I think she recorded all of it right before she had a stroke. So she's been kind of on the mend this year. But it's cool that she had all this stuff sort of backlogged. It's probably almost time for a new regular record from her because it's the last one she put out that was self-written was like April of 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. So we're coming up on 2 years already. Is that crazy or what? That's the crazy part. The time has like, it's like the last 2 years are like, what happened? You know, and we're still in it, but dealing. Okay. New St. Paul and the Broken Bones. It's called Alien Coast. I'm not sure how many of you know or don't know St. Paul. This is Golden Nugget vinyl, limited edition. sort of southern soul, white guys. They're great. I mean, if you close your eyes and listen to them, it just proves that music really has no color, at least when it's coming from the artists and what their soul and their spirit is. And I think that that's really important for everyone to kind of remember. There was something on TV this morning actually about how we listen to things and getting silent spaces, and I think that how we listen to music in particular can be, it definitely alters your impression of what you're hearing. So anyway, regardless of that, another cool release this week, Lady Blackbird, and this is Black Acid Soul is the name of the album. I don't know how many people are familiar with Lady Blackbird. I was not. I started listening to this, and I think it's very cool. I mean, the first song is Blackbird by Nina Simone. I would kind of sort of put her in a category, if I had to, as sort of like soul jazz, kind of going down that Nina road. So check her out. I think she's got Trombone Shorty guests on this. But anyway, very cool. We need more artists like that. Dion. So Stomping Ground, this came out last fall on CD. It's finally out on vinyl. I think I've talked about it as far as like all the guest stars on it, but it's got Springsteen, Clapton. I would love to have seen the writing, those vocal sessions for those. Go back and forth talking about each other. Joe Bonamassa, Mark Knopfler, Boz Scaggs, Billy Gibbons. Dion's still very viable. Okay, I have two of these right now. I'm still expecting a third, but Black Rebel Motorcycle Club finally reissuing a couple of their records. This one is Spectre at the Feast, and this one is Beat the Devil's Tattoo. I think there's, three of them. Vagrant did limited vinyl covers of these colors, 25-year anniversaries. Which, if you like sort of, I don't want to say gothy, sort of post-punk kind of rock, alternative rock, they're great. Okay, I had a lot of people ask for this album this week. Yard Act, The Overload. Again, speaking of post-punk, I mean, these guys are British, I believe. I could be wrong. They sounded British. Oh yeah, recorded in Bristol. It's sort of along the lines of like Fontaine's DC and stuff like that, but check that out. And more sort of reissues from PJ Harvey, Let England Shake. This is a more recent album. I say more recent, at this point it's probably 8 years old. Oh no, it's 12 years old. All right, well, again, time just goes by. This was a great record. I don't know if it won the Brit Award or won the award for, was it the best album of the year? My facts are all like this week. I've been dealing with computer things, so it's like my brain is not functioning. But it's a great album, sort of about like England and kind of a dystopian meltdown, which if I talk to some of my British friends, they'd probably say, hey, that's still going on. Okay. So not to offend any British people out there. I love England. I've never been. I want to go someday. Dexter Gordon reissue of Daddy Plays the Horn. So this is another in the Bethlehem series of reissues. This was actually supposed to come out, I think it was supposed to be the first or second release, but we're already up to, I think, the fourth now, or fifth. This was actually, last week there was a Charles Mingus, so reissue on black vinyl. This is from 1962, I think. There's a picture there. So, older stuff. It starts with a 9-minute version of Daddy Plays the Horn. He does Autumn in New York. Kenny Drew is on piano. So, yeah, check that out. Probably won't be around for too long. All right, so it was announced that Ghost have a new album coming out in March, and we've got the new single Hunter's Moon, 45, a 7 inch. And ironically, the B side is called John Carpenter, produced by and performed by John Carpenter. Um, so this is the song from Halloween Kills that they did, and it's on blood red vinyl, of course. Let's see. I can't remember if I showed this last week or not, but David Bowie's Low on limited orange vinyl for the 45th anniversary. I know I've maybe said this is my top three Bowie albums. I love it because there aren't really big hits on it. Side one is sort of seven kind of quirky alternative, um, kind of abstract but still very catchy kind of pop and rock tracks. A lot of sort of starting to use more synth, but in interesting ways. Brian Eno was heavily involved, and then side two were four mostly instrumental tracks, very evocative. Of especially Warzawa always reminds me of winter, and Subterraneans always reminds me of, I think the movie Traffic maybe used that a lot in its outro or something over the credits. But great album. Everyone should own a copy of Low, at least just for that mood. You know, there's a certain mood that it really creates. And I don't remember if I showed this or not either, but Oasis, the triple album on vinyl, the live at Nebworth. This was out on CD in the fall. There was a Blu-ray version that came out that had all of the music from it, and then the CD had sort of highlights. But I think it's worth mentioning. I mean, it doesn't really, the back is sort of nondescript. They do have the song titles down here. But if you're an Oasis fan, you know, they end with Champagne Supernova, Live Forever, and I Am the Walrus. They did cover I Am the Walrus. I think it was a B-side or something like that. So it's cool that that performance is on here, as is the song Whatever, which was a huge hit in England, and it was never released on an official, like, full-length album. So that's a very hard song to get, even a studio version, especially on vinyl. So, yeah, that's at least, you can at least get a good live version of that song there. All right, and then CD-wise, I think I have to mention that finally, it's only been out for like 3 weeks, but The Weeknd, Dawn FM. So you're like going, well, this isn't the picture that I've seen. The picture is him as the old man. Yeah, it's the same album, and on the front, it's funny, it doesn't even really say his name, it just says Dawn FM. But the cool thing about this is that this is an indie store exclusive, and it's actually got an autograph. It says, includes limited edition autograph. So I'm guessing that one of the cards or the booklet is autographed. So don't sleep on that. If you're a big Weeknd fan, you might want to collect one of his autographs somewhere. And we don't have a whole lot of them, so they'll be around while supplies last, I suppose. But another sort of album that just kind of came out that all they've put out so far as a CD is the new FKA Twigs. And it's called Capri Songs. It's a very odd cover compared to her other albums, but I think she's going for a different vibe on this, obviously. Those are very kind of abstract, sort of alternative albums, and this one I think she's reaching for a little more of a wider audience, with people like The Weeknd being involved in that. I wish they'd put this out on vinyl. It's so far only out on CD, but it is the Summer of Soul soundtrack. The movie that Questlove had produced from last summer features live performances from The Fifth Dimension, B.B. King, Nina Simone, Sly and the Family Stone, and more. Why they sort of you know, put this down to a CD that, it's only just like kind of highlights from it. I don't know. I mean, maybe they didn't. It's sort of like Woodstock where they couldn't really fit the whole thing on there. But it's at least cool that there's going to be some sort of replica or retrospective on that, and be looking for a vinyl release hopefully in the future. Same, Bob James Trio has a new record. Actually, it is out on vinyl. Just have the CD right now, but Feel Like Making Live. Yes, live performance in studio. New album from the Eels, Extreme Witchcraft, which I think might be available on vinyl. I don't know. Some of these things, this is not yet. Steve Vai's new album. This is called Inviolate. Steve being quite the riffster. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Anais Mitchell, with her new self-titled album. She did some great work on the last Big Red Machine album with Bon Iver, Taylor Swift, guys from the National. What she wrote the musical, or part wrote, Hadestown, which is now out on tour. She's got a great voice. So if you like things like, I suppose like Alison Krauss, but maybe a little less bluegrassy, you might want to check her out. Some blues things. Eric Gales has a new blues CD out called Crown. Katie Henry, who's another new blues artist. She's on Rough Records. I need to check her out. Let's see. They keep putting out records. Pine Grove, 1111. Simone Felice of the Felice Brothers. That's called All the Bright Coins. It's kind of a sort of spooky album cover. And then the demos for PJ Harvey's Let England Shake, which we're still waiting on the vinyl of that. I think it's just at the warehouse now. And one thing I don't have to show, which hopefully I can show next time, I'm not sure. They may be gone by the time I get them, but is the Ornette Coleman Blue Note Records box set that's coming out on vinyl. It runs, I think, around $250. So it's not cheap. It might be a little more than that. I can't remember. But it has every album that he recorded for Blue Note Records. I believe there were 6. So it's supposed to be a very nice archival release. It's on the way. Just the distributor is kind of slow. If you want one of those, you're going to have to let me know, though, because I probably won't have them just sitting out on the shelf. Eating up a lot of money if they don't sell, which I know they would eventually, but... Okay, so, like, a couple just small news things this week. There were a couple of spats online between some of my favorite artists. The first one being Damon Albarn of Blur and Gorillaz, kind of backhandedly lashing out at Taylor Swift for not being a songwriter, not being a complete songwriter, being a co-writer. And I've heard this sort of criticism before. However, we do know that there have been instances where Taylor has sort of written her, I say sort of, but she has written her own stuff or gotten full credit for it. I think she's a very talented person. She was sort of hurt by that, and then she kind of lashed back at him and said, oh, by the way, I wrote this tweet myself. Then he sort of responded with kind of it wasn't an apology, but he didn't really say, like, I was wrong about what I was saying. So, it's like, he just shouldn't have stepped into that in the first place. There was really no reason to. I love Damon. His music has always been great, whether it was solo, Good, Bad, and the Queen, Blur, Gorillaz. What I think should happen here is that they should actually do an album together. And maybe then he can see how much of a writer she really is. Don't you all think that's a great idea? I think we need to really propagate this because, he does great music. It would kind of open her sound up to yet another thing. I mean, she's already kind of done sort of like this kind of dark folk stuff now with the guys from the National and Jack Antonoff. So I don't know. I think that's my sort of like light bulb idea about that. All right. Second thought, Morrissey versus Marr. This is such a bizarre thing going on between them because both of them sort of alluded in their books, especially Johnny, about how at one point it looked like he and Morrissey were going to consider doing something together again, and then Morrissey really sort of, in Morrissey fashion, backed out. Had like a complete, like, they just kind of were like, that, no, it's not going to happen, or at least that's what Morrissey did. Um, Johnny has said some things that have been mildly critical of Morrissey, I would say, especially regarding political things. And I have to say, like, as an American watching this, sometimes we're a little bit confused because, well, for one, I don't really necessarily grasp all of what's going on there, but you can kind of see some of the things that Morrissey's done as being, I mean, he's always been very sort of pushing the envelope and kind of creating controversy. That's sort of one of his, I don't know if I'd call it a charm anymore. But so for Morrissey to have lashed out back the way that he did at this particular moment in time seemed very odd or arbitrary because it was sort of like, keep your words out of my mouth, don't discuss me. And the quote that really got me, I thought, was he said, would you please discuss your own career, your own unstoppable solo achievements, and your own music, and just leave me out of it, basically, is in a nutshell. You don't say like something like your own unstoppable solo achievements if you're not trying to take a dig at somebody. And then there were more things that were said regarding, his grandmother's dribble and stuff like that. It was very off-putting, and you kind of wonder, like, is a lot of this sort of like trying to drum up interest because Morrissey's been trying to get a record deal. It just struck me as like you're lashing out at Johnny for something that you yourself are now guilty of doing. It's like, have you never heard of a text message or a phone call? Maybe he tried those and they didn't work. It did not sound like that. And Johnny came back with some sort of post about, or Twitter tweet about, yeah, this is, this is a sort of like, it's called social media. You don't need to make a whole like screed as a post about, sort of in a blog sense about all this stuff. So I just like, what's with all the dirty laundry coming out in public? It's just happening everywhere, unfortunately. The last thing I was going to mention was Neil Young versus Spotify. And the fact that Spotify sort of caved, he didn't really necessarily want Spotify to remove all of Joe Rogan's stuff. He just said they should not be playing the ones that promote sort of like fake things that affect public health. And, I think for them to kind of knee-jerk and remove all of his music to do what he basically was requesting them to do shows, A, that they don't really have a spine against some of these people who bring in a lot of money and listeners and all that, and B, I think more to the point of recorded music, that it just proves that you got to hang on to your real records, your real CDs, because you never know when an artist's entire catalog is going to disappear, when a contract is going to run out, and then it's not there anymore. So, you guys got to buy physical music, and I'm not just saying that just because of a store owner or whatever. I'm saying it because I think it's a way of preserving history. Otherwise, things can so easily be wiped away, and it might not have anything to do with the fact that a contract expires. It might be over some kind of political argument or an artist taking a stand or something. I mean, we've seen sort of what happens when Taylor Swift took on some of her issues with how her publishing rights and things were being sold, and re-recording her catalog, and she actually has more support now than she ever did on that stuff. And what I'm finding is that when people when people come in, most of them are now searching for the re-recordings, and they don't want to buy the originals because they feel like that's supporting a system that sort of fostered all of this bad stuff towards her. And frankly, I mean, they have a point. And if if the artist can do a really good facsimile of it, and it doesn't sound like something else. I haven't listened to that new Dave Mason re-recording. His case was that the masters, the original masters of that album, had burned in the Universal fire, 10 years ago or a little more even now. But you know, I'm just sort of like pontificating here. But I think that is it. Are you going to be shunned by your friends if you buy an original Taylor Swift record instead of the re-recordings now? As a teenager, who knows? I mean, what kind of peer pressure they face, except teenagers. They're probably not watching me right now, but some might. Anyway, so that's really all I had to say this week. I just had some thoughts that I wanted to share on those things, and I'm not really telling anybody what to do or how to feel, but they're things to ponder. All right. So I know that was kind of off topic, but being sort of topics. And next week, I should have more to show. Oh, Mitski comes out next week. Black Country New Road, Animal Collective. So it's a fairly big week, some release week, some Tone Poet things. And then the following week, February 11th, that's kind of a big week. Being involved with Valentine's Day and all usually is a bigger week. So let's hope the weather holds, people. All right, thanks very much. This was a little longer than I expected. Hey, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you soon. Bye. Enjoy. Play some music. And play it real.